guys, welcome to the Homestead. So today we're going to continue to talk about some of these things that I have mentioned many times in the past, and that is the registration and eventual confiscation of livestock, cattle, poultry, things like that. I've done a lot of videos on this in the past, and we're going to talk about them a little bit just so I can show you the progression of where we're going. Now, a lot of stuff's going on in the world. Everyone's talking about this, talking about that, and World War III, and all that stuff is important. I mean, it's really going on. That's not, fake news or anything. Now, the economy is in absolute tatters. It's not going to get better. There's an election coming up. Things are getting muddy. There's a court case that's going to be decided if it hasn't been already. I don't even know what time it is. Anyway, all I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff going on out there. In the meantime, this USDA regulation that's going to force farmers to register and regulate all cattle, livestock, is happening. It's already, that cake is baked. It's done. Now we're into the lead up phase of the timeline or deadline to which farmers have to comply. Okay, you have a certain amount of time, farmers. You're on the clock. You better comply within a certain amount of time or you're going to be, dealt with. I don't know how that's going to happen yet. I haven't even read of what that entails for people who don't comply. But they understand that this is a lot of hoops for you farmers to jump through, and so they're trying to make it easy for you by using U.S. tax dollars to pay for these electronic ID tags that cattle, livestock now have to have. The People's Republic of Illinois, or Illinois, if you're from where I'm at, that's how they pronounce it in St. Louis. Illinois, the People's Republic are using U.S. tax dollars to force you, to incentivize you, to help you comply with this new mandated rule. Let's take a look at the article. Over at agdaily.com, it says Illinois offers producers free. Nothing in life is free, right? 840 tags after traceability rule. So the USDA has mandated this, and so Illinois, out of the goodness of their heart, God love them, they're going to give you free 840 tags, RFID 840 tags after traceability has been ruled and mandated. This is one of the most critical activities. Let me zoom in here. One of the most critical activities in an animal disease response is tracing the movement of animals. An efficient and accurate traceability system reduces the number of animals involved and response time required in a disease investigation, which in turn reduces the economic impact on owners and affected communities. Oh, that sounds fantastic. They're going to trace all these things, for our benefit, because if something goes horribly, disastrously wrong, they'll be there to help. The government will be there to help. As a result, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and state animal health officials, in cooperation with industry stakeholders, developed the Animal Disease Traceability Program to ensure official individual animal identification and premises identification traceability from farm to harvest. So your premise, that means your home, your farm. Okay, that's where that's going to go. And you know what? You can also, for all these things, if you read between the lines enough, you can see how this could be easily applied, not just for animals, but for humans as well. Because if things go horribly wrong, for any reason, we'll be able to trace the premise from which you live in, where you live, to wherever things went wrong at. To support this transition, the Illinois Department of Agriculture's Bureau of Animal Health and Welfare is offering free electronic 840 tags to cattle and bison producers and veterinarians for use in replacement cattle through an agreement with the USDA. Now, side note here, if you don't know what 840 tag is, let me just show you a picture of one. This is the old ear tag. This is the tag that you used to have to have, or they recommended that you have. I don't even know if it was mandated. You can leave a comment below if you're a cattle raiser down there. You can have these, and these are not the RFID ones. These are just regular 840 tags, and they're called 840 tags because the country code for the United States, 840, so these are going to be transferred internationally if they ever get on a ship to go somewhere and be eaten by some other country's population. They know it came from the United States. So 840 is the country code, and then this code, this number here, is the number that applies directly to that particular animal. And then we have this. This is the new RFID tag. This is an electronic device, so it has the same number, country code, and then the 15-digit number that applies directly to that specific animal. And it also has, in this little black thing here, a radio frequency, an electronic radio frequency called RFID that can be read with a wand or some sort of other detection device. And then that way we'll confirm and match this number and give the complete background electronically of that animal, of where it was raised and what horrible farmer raised this animal of meat production. And then we can punish that man as well, or that woman, and then, understand where this cattle was raised so that that never happens again. Of course, I'm reading a lot into this. But that's the new tag that they have there. And understanding that I have this website over here. It's called cckoutfitters.com, and they describe these tags as thus: a unique number for each animal. This would mean that each tag you purchase has a unique number generated by the USDA so that each animal has a tag that is unique to them. Think of this as the animal's social security number or a VIN number on a car. You know where registration leads to. We'll get to that in a second. So back to the article. USDA APHIS announces final animal disease traceability rule. Rule being the key word. On April 26, 2024, the USDA Animal and Plant Health Inspection Services announced the final rule to increase and strengthen animal disease traceability for certain cattle and bison. Now, why does the word rule matter here? Is because this was not a law passed by your elected officials in the United States Congress, House of Representatives, or United States Senate. This was not something that is being implemented by law passed by your elected representatives and senators. This is a rule that they have come up with that you now have to abide by. Otherwise, there will be penalties enforced upon you. Folks, that is the very definition of taxation without representation. You have not been represented. A bunch of unelected bureaucrats with sticks up their butt and an absolute desire for control over your lives have made a rule that is enforceable by law with punishment of law over you and how you raise your animals.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
This rule will take effect 180 days from publication in the Federal Register. Key changes focus on electronic identification as the official identification for all sexually intact cattle and bison 18 months of age or older. All dairy cattle of any age and any cattle used for rodeo, recreation, or exhibition moving interstate. Now, this is where it's at right now, interstate. Now, keep in mind, originally they had tags that you were not mandated to use. Okay, it was up to you if you used these tags, and that's the way it's always been. But now that's changing. Now you have to have tags, and now not only must you have tags, you must have RFID tags. Do you see how they're slowly moving the Overton window? Do you see how they're slowly increasing the regulation? Okay, that's not going to stop. Right now it's interstate. That will be eventually all within state. This identification will be required to be read visually and electronically. Visual ear tags applied to an animal prior to the effective date of the rule will be recognized for the lifetime of that animal. So the other ones are grandfathered in. You don't have to go out and get the RFIDs for those existing animals. In addition, the rule will change the definition of dairy cattle to all cattle. Oh, we're going to not just dairy cattle, now all cattle, regardless of age or sex or current use. Regardless of age or sex or current use, that are of a breed or offspring of a breed used to produce milk or other dairy products for human consumption, including but not limited to Ayrshire, Brown Swiss, Holstein, Jersey, Guernsey, milking, Shorthorn, and red and whites. So we're gonna. I guess you've been paying attention to all of the, bird flu stuff going on. I guess I can say that. Bird flu stuff going on out there and how it's affecting supposedly cattle, because cattle now have learned to fly and they're spreading the bird flu amongst themselves. So do you see the encroachment? If you can't see it, it's because you don't want to see it. And I can prove that this is where they're leading. Just a year ago, I did a video about Wisconsin. Wisconsin is being the first state in the nation to mandate livestock premises registration. Now, this is not national. This is within the state. Livestock premises registration means that any location where livestock congregate, family farm, hobby farm, backyard poultry flocks, veterinary clinics, markets, livestock feedlots, livestock dealers, and haulers provides to a central database an address, a contact person, and a list of species. Yes, you're going to be given your own location number, your homestead. That means family farm and hobby farm, because if you have a homestead and you're not producing farming, these animals for a business, you're just raising them for, meat for your own freezer, you're considered a hobby farm or family farm. That means you, homesteaders, you're going to get your own ID number for your location, and they're going to make you register all your animals. And what does registration lead to? Well, that was a year ago. 6 months ago, I did this video. Recently, in the town of Fayetteville, Tennessee, an article was put in the Elk Valley Times informing the people of Fayetteville that if they would like to keep their chickens, they would have to file for a permit. Many people did, as they tried to do the right thing and remain obedient. One member of the community said that the inspector came out, never looked at where the chickens were, and proceeded to tell them they could no longer have chickens in the city limits. But don't you even want to see how we have them contained, they asked. Honestly, he said, no one, as I understand it, will get a permit. The application was just to find out where the chickens were. If you hadn't applied, we would have never even looked here. They only had a few hens for fresh eggs. Now they will be forced to get rid of them. Don't doubt me on this. This is where they're going. They want you to eat Z-bugs and be happy.
Mama say that happiness is from magic rays of sunshine that come down when you're feeling blue.
The only way you fight this is to not comply, and to do so loudly and very loudly. Do not comply. And the second thing, and I've often said this on my channel, the second thing you need to do is make contacts with other people who do raise these animals. If you enjoy getting these farm-raised, hobby farm, family farm type animals that are raised in a more natural environment, if you would rather consume these products, make contacts, establish relationships with the people who raise these things if you can't do it yourself, and then become their customer. There are so many farms out there right now, so many livestock owners who are already selling just face-to-face sales. They have a butcher, we take it to the butcher, you pay either me or the butcher, however you can get around the state, USDA laws or, federal USDA laws. Whatever you have to do to get around those laws to be able to exchange money for goods and services. And then you take home that meat and you put it in your freezer. And it's guarded by your shotgun. Understand this is where we're going. They don't want you to eat meat. And the only way you can push back on this is to not comply. A lot of these cattle ranchers right now are making the decision to either comply or not comply. What will they do? If I can't take my cattle to the sale barn anymore, because to get into that sale barn, to get into that auction, to have access to that auction, I have to have this RFID tag or some sort of 840 tag on my animal previously. What do I do? How am I going to stay in business? Well, either you're not, or you're going to establish other ways of revenue by selling directly to a public and going through some sort of other butchering service that's going to provide it to that public. We want healthy foods. People want healthy foods. You as the farmer have to figure out where your market is. Or do you want to continue to sell into the system, or do you want to sell directly to the public? I know it's going to take a little bit more legwork, but I guarantee you the amount of hoops they're making you jump through right now is not going to decrease. It's only going to increase. I've shown you that in the articles. They're slowly moving that window of obedience that you have to comply with. And it's not going to get better. But what do you think? I'm interested to hear your thoughts and comments below. I've been doing this since we left St. Louis, or before we left St. Louis. We bought that, I can't even say the word, because every time I mention it, every time I show it on my videos, I get demonetized or the video gets taken down. So we were buying that stuff back before we left St. Louis to a farmer who lived about an hour and 15 minutes away outside the city, and we had to travel there. We were part of a little co-op, and in that little co-op of about 5 or 6 families, we all rotated, and each family took a bunch of coolers, and they would go out to that farm, and they would get that product, and they would deliver it to a meetup point back within the city, and then we would distribute, and then the next person who was on that rotation, when they came to pick up that product, we would give them all the coolers, and the next week they would go. Do you see how that works? Okay, that's the kind of thing you have to do if you want to keep doing this. And so we've been doing that for that long. And now where I'm at now, I have established relationships and connections with a number of different farmers who raise these products in the way that I want them raised, and I trust them. And I know them, and I talk to them on a regular basis, and I buy from them, okay? And a lot of people are doing the exact same thing out here. So that's where I think your focus needs to be. If you do this, leave a comment below. You doing this and telling, how you do this in the comments below may encourage others to do it. If you're a cattle raiser, if you're a farmer, and you have these relationships established, please leave a comment below so someone else can see it. Another cattle raiser, another cattle farmer might see it, and they might be encouraged to also do likewise. As well as people who purchase these products, they may be encouraged to do the legwork, to do the groundwork, to go out and establish these relationships as well. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, Patron, I'm out there. I got a bunch of mullein plants out there growing soon. They're already growing their second year stalks. Mullein is one of the best tinctures you can have in your medicinal library. Let's call it that. Apothecary, whatever it's called. You can get these books. Herbal Extracts tells you what to do with them. On mullein. Let me look it up here. Here we go. No, not that. Here we go. Properties and uses. Repairs connective tissue. General repair, varicose veins, cartilage repair, epilepsy seizures, heart regulation repair, coughs, heart circulation, asthma, bronchitis, smoker's cough, lung repair, pain relief, and menstrual cramping. And that's just for the leaves. And for the flowers, prevents stretch marks, hearing, and repair connective tissue. And so it's got the whole 2 pages on mullein. In my opinion, there's probably top three tinctures you'd want to have: echinacea, mullein, and nettle. Okay, those, stinging nettle. Those are my top 3. I have others too, but those are my top 3. Absolutely fantastic. This is my batch I made from last year. I'm almost out. I'm going to make a new batch, and I got a bunch of plants. So I'm going to talk to my patrons and show them exactly how I'm going to harvest these. I'm going to show you some of the plants. And when those stalks get to a certain height and those flowers come on, I'll show my patrons on how do I collect those. But you can get these books right now. If you buy these on Amazon, you're going to pay $1,000 for each, like around $800 for one, $900 for the other. But someone messaged me the other day and says now these are over $1,000 if you buy the physical copies on Amazon. Absolutely crazy. They're out of copyright, out of print. Dr. A.B. Howard lived over 100 years ago. And if you know anything about history, the pharmaceutical companies, they tried desperately to get this stuff out of publication and out of the public awareness over 100 years ago. And that was a lot of his material. This is my medicine cabinet. If you join my patrons for as little as $1 a month, little tiny bit, $1 a month, I'll give you access to download these PDFs, and you can go get them printed. Okay. In fact, the ones I'm giving you are actually the 3rd edition, the final edition versions. Of this is actually 2nd edition copy. So you're even getting a more updated copy. These were last print. They were printed in like the 80s and 90s. I think the last version went out in the early 90s, I think. And so, again, this material was written over 100 years ago by Dr. A.B. Howard, out of copyright, out of print. I want you to have this information because I believe it's vital in the days ahead. You can no longer rely on established, approved systems that are out there. You need to have your own systems in place and have that awareness. So you can find that link in the description below by joining patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead and get those books. Extremely valuable because of the information contained within. All right, guys. Hey, check out our merchandise over at teespring.com. You can find our Stupid Shit Hurt shirt. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful, awful lot less people. trying to put tags on animals. See you next time in the homestead. Bye. Have you ever gone to a health food store and seen all those small bottles of probiotics in your cooler section? Man, can they be pricey. Are you really getting all you need to improve your gut health from those expensive bottles? How viable are they? Most of those products claim to give you between 8 and 15 strains of gut-healthy healing bacteria. Think of each strain of bacteria as a different factory in your gut. Each factory is responsible for breaking down that food in its own way. The more factories you have, the more the food is broken down and the easier the food is absorbed and digested by the body. A 2018 study published by the National Library of Medicine shows that one fermented head of cabbage can produce up to 114 strains of beneficial bacteria. That's a lot more food factories than you're getting from that expensive pill bottle. And that's just cabbage. Imagine the probiotics when you add garlic, onions, pepper, and more to that ferment. PerfectPickler.com and its home fermentation kits provide you with everything you need to get started making your own gut-healthy food factories from the comfort of your own kitchen. PerfectPickler.com even provides a jam-packed recipe book with many of our kits. Visit PerfectPickler.com and start fermenting your own veggies to begin your journey to better gut health. That's PerfectPickler.com.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.